Everybody, so there's a lot to talk about here at the moment, but I just want you to do me a favour. If you could contact your local TDs or your councillors just to let them know that, particularly as I say, even young people in Cavan at the moment, to contact your councillors and your TDs and say this is our wages, particularly your Fianna Fáil councillors and TDs, because Mary Butler, to be told honestly, the people of that area shouldn't have elected her. She is no addition, to be told, as a Mary Butler, the Minister for Mental Health. She's no addition. She's never been any addition for anybody in Cavan anyway, to put it nicely. But this is the thing. At the moment, there's a group called sosad. It's a charity base. It's not funded by the state. It's not like CAMS. It's not funded by the state. It's a charity. People give voluntary donations, etc., etc. But we all know from charities and stuff still have to pay the bills, etc., etc. Still have to pay rent and stuff on buildings. And I have a personal story here, I'll tell you in a second too. There's a lot to touch about. But unfortunately and sadly, and again, this is the sad point, that this group, this charity is doing more to help young people particularly than the government. But then the government that has funded CAMS, that's the HSE body under the government that has hundreds of millions of euros of funding. And sosad relies on voluntary donations, voluntary people to give voluntary donations, donate their time, etc., etc., to help other people, which is, I'm sure everybody would say, is very remarkable and it's a great thing to have. And particularly in Cavan, as I said, there's been so much devastation over so many young people committing suicide over the last few years, and I myself had to go into them. Only for them, there was no help, and particularly in Cavan. I say this straight to Mary Butler, there was no help from Mary Butler, there was no help from the state. And that's a crying shame, and to be told that she shouldn't be there, Mary Butler, she should be gone, long gone, retired, gone. She's no addition, Mary Butler. And this is the thing, they're struggling to keep the doors open in Cavan and across the country. And they were promised by Mary Butler on the 5th of November last month that they would get emergency funding. And we're on December the 14th now, and there's no such thing as emergency funding. This hasn't materialised. So Mary Butler's talking shit, to be told honestly, straight away. She's no addition. She generally is no addition. And that's the thing. It's all talk but no action. And this is the sad thing. Again, they say it could only last a few more months with the funding they have at the moment because there's no emergency funding. The government's not there to support them. The government's just going to let it collapse. So think about this for a second. The 6 officers in Cavan, Louth, Meath, Monaghan and Laois. And think about this, just this year alone, think about this. 21,000 hours of counselling, free counselling. Only members of the public can go in and talk. And I think that's a great service because in CAMS, in Cavan, take for example, the HSE funded takes 5 months. 5 months for a young person to wait. To be seen. That's not even getting into the counselling, just to be seen, to write your name down. That's in a modern first world country, in one of the richest countries in the world. That's what happened, and nothing has changed since a few years ago when that happened. It is an absolute joke, and you can tell by me that I'm not happy because I know myself. I went through the system. I understand it. I know the suffering, and for this particularly in Cavan, has suffered a lot over the last few years. It's unforgivable. Mary Butler sat on her hands and done nothing throughout it. And as simple as that. And I would appeal to people to contact your TDs, particularly your Fianna Fáil, because Mary Butler's still there, like it or not. She's still there for the moment as Minister for Mental Health. I'm sure to God she has the powers, or any of the government, to say this group could be gone now within the next month and there'll be no help. At least, take for example, one of the people in sosad has said they'll support 700 people that God knows could be worse than I did. And I'll go into my personal story in a second with them. But these 700 people could have experienced the most hardship of a life imaginable. If we take as hard as life is hard, some of these people could have experienced huge trauma in their life. And the only thing to support them is CAMS. It's so sad. It is a joke. It is a joke. Because the state's not there. CAMS is not there, as I was saying there. CAMS is not there to help them. The government's not there to help them. Nobody's there to help them. The only thing that's there to help them is a charity. And I think that reflects, that just tells you everything about what the state is in this country. That just tells you everything about Mary Butler and the state, and Fianna Fáil in general too, to be totally honest, and Fine Gael, the same, there's a whole lot of them. Just tells you everything. That just tells you everything, that the charity is doing more to support the most seriously people that need help in society than anybody else. 700 people, think about that. What happens if these sosad offices in Cavan, take us and Navan and Dundalk close down in the morning? Who is going to support them? Is the state going to support them? No, state is not. The state's going to let them to what? Pretty much, and that's just what, and that's what they've done. They've done hundreds of times over for young people in this county, particularly in Cavan. They've let people to what? Simple as that. And I say that without the most saddest words coming out of my mouth. That's the truth. You might not like it, but it's the truth. Because there's so many young people I heard that waited so long to be seen in CAMS and Cavan. It's outrageous. There's people here that had to go and pay for private counselling, pay thousands for private counselling because they couldn't get onto a CAMS waiting list. it's a joke. It is a general joke. And then when some group is taking it upon themselves to look after people who struggle, as I said, on the brink of collapse, and these people that go to them every day, that rely on this service, they're going to be abandoned. And it's truly sad. So I went into sosad when I was in secondary school, the last year in secondary school, particularly. I was going through a lot, I suppose, with the leaving cert and with different things. It was a lot. It wasn't overly serious. I was in the mental health hospital back when I was in first year. I went to Cherry Orchard. That was severely bad because the Cherry Orchard, take for example, is the most up-to-date hospital it was in the country for young people who's experienced mental health troubles. And the waiting list is years. But I was that bad. There was emergency case really, and it was that bad. But going on to recent times when I went in, and I went into So Sad and Calvin take because the staff is so great and they're so nice. As I say, I was given this the number and this belonging to the woman over too. She said, anytime, give us a ring, give us an email, we'll talk to you. No matter what time it is of the day, we're there to help you, we're there to support you. And that's without money, without getting paid anything. That just shows you how good natured these people are, and that they generally care. They're not like the HSE, they're not like Mary Butler. They generally care about people, and that's it's a credit to them. It's a credit to them, and I can't tell you how many probably lives they've saved in Cavan because of that. I simply could not be put down on paper because it's immeasurable the amount of people they have saved across the country, not just in Cavan, because they were there to listen. They were there to speak to people. They were there to talk to people. And the government wasn't there to talk to people. The government wasn't there to look after people. The government abandoned the people, first of all, and they're going to abandon So Sad, it seems. So I would appeal to people, if you're local, particularly if you're in Mary Butler's constituency, give her a ring, tell her office to get something done now, get emergency funding, take it out of her own pocket if she needs to be told answer, because that's what needed. That's what's needed at the moment, because it's all about voluntary donations. People, I give voluntary donations myself to the one in Cavan many times. But it's not good enough, 500 here, or 200 here, or 300 there, or 100 here, or 50 there. They need constant support, like the CAMS, take for example, they have a big budget of 10 million over that, for the HSE. Because the government has endless amounts of money, especially now they have a huge surplus. And as Mary Butler said in last month, and this is just from the CEO, on the 5th of November last month, they were promised emergency funding. We're here now on December the 14th, nothing has materialised. And I would say if Mary Butler gets in again as Minister for Mental Health, she's no addition. No addition. One person that shouldn't get in, and she shouldn't have got a kept her seat anyway, in my opinion, for the harm she has done. But it doesn't matter about Mary Butler. It's bigger than Mary Butler at this stage. That something needs to be done. I do appeal to people to contact your TDs if you see them, or your councillors particularly, regardless. Just let your voice be heard. Because I do think this is going to be something that's silent, because there's not enough noise about it. There's generally not enough noise. And in fairness, I will say to Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin are the only party at the moment that have spoke up about it. In fairness, I would say that. And I do encourage other parties, smaller parties too, to speak up, because we need something to be done. Because, again, these people will be abandoned. If there's no So Sad, there's no anything for them. There's no help. The state's not going to help them. Simple as that. There's no help. There's no help from So Sad. There's no help from the state. Simple as that. They'll be just abandoned. And that's just that's the sad fact. That's just a sad fact that we need to get that out there. And particularly for people in Cavan, in these areas where they have offices in Dundalk, stuff, we should be shouting from the rooftops. And I know I'll be shouting from the rooftops when I get talking to councillors. And I will get talking to them. I'm going to speak to some of the councillors now and shout at them about it. Because it's a crying shame too, and I say this too to the councillors in Cavan particularly. The Cavan County Council only give them a small bit of funding. It's a crying shame that and I've said this before many times, and they've heard me many times saying it, the CAMS in Cavan should be closed down, and we should give all the funding that's given to the CAMS in Cavan, shut CAMS down, and give it to So Sad. We should give all the funding, give them full-time jobs in So Sad in Cavan, because they're doing a better job than CAMS ever did in this county. Simple as that. And that's how much I think about them, because they're great people. They are great people. I went through myself, and I understand. It's not easy to pay the bills, and especially voluntary donations, etc. You had to keep ends meet, and then put on the electricity, put on the heat. And it's not easy for a small group, and especially I know myself as somebody that volunteers in my local tiny towns, etc. It's not easy paying insurance, having to pay for this, having to pay for that when you're a voluntary group. When you only get so much from the state, or you get so much, at least tiny towns get funding from the state. So Sad gets nothing from the state, really, in a way. They'll get maybe a few here, 1 or 2 grats here and there for a few thousand. That's it. But they do so much good work, and I can't emphasise that. But But I do encourage people, and I often don't encourage, but I do encourage, and I ask you, and I plead with you, to please contact your TDs, particularly Fianna Fáil, as I say, Mary Butler's Fianna Fáil, and tell her that please tell her the cop on. Please tell her to go and sign the document to give her the emergency funding. It's not rocket science. Just sign the document saying here's a few 100,000. Here you go. That'll do you for a while, and then we try and get more money for you as soon as humanly possible. But just to keep the doors open for another while, and then you can sort out funding. But the only thing that's the solution here, if sosad gets constant state funding, and they should, they really, really should, and it's a crying shame that they don't. It's a crying shame that we're here now discussing this. It should have been done long ago. But I do appeal with you. Thank you.